Welcome back to Bread and Butter, everybody, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement in episode 54. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Tito. Tito, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Doc. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And we have a very special guest today, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay from This Week in Hearthstone. Jay, how are you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. So, Doc, tell me what you've been doing in Hearthstone recently.
Unfortunately, not a whole bunch. Feeling some Hearthstone burnout. So last game of Hearthstone I played was the Blizzlet Community Game Night Battlegrounds. But yeah, I mean, I still love the game. It's just, I'm not having fun with it. So I'm not playing it a bunch, from last week to this week, but, that happens. So it's okay. How about yourself, Jay?
Right now, I am on a life's mission to get Plague Death Knight back to where it needs to be. It was great in the beginning, and now it's falling off, and everybody says, oh, it's terrible. I love the archetype, and I want it to be as big as it can, and then as well learning the Battlegrounds meta right now with spells, which is amazing, and I'm terrible at it, but I love being terrible at it. I'm learning.
You really think that Plague Death Knight isn't viable? Because I've seen plenty of it, especially with the excavation package, and you know they have those swing turns right there where they run their 0 mana legendary into you. It steals something, they Azurite it again, and then you hit by a bunch of plagues. I see it all the time.
I definitely agree with you. My thing is, the plague mechanic needs to work, and I'm seeing more often than not when I'm watching it on streams or I'm playing it myself, the plague mechanic never goes off, and it only works when that is a component of the deck. I'm still seeing. I think there's like 2 or 3 deck lists I'm working on right now. Zeddy just posted one the other day that I think Hat was also throwing around. It's getting there. I'm not 100% comfortable with yet the end part of it, but I just want it to be so cool because I think it is so cool.
Fair enough. I've been playing a lot. I've been doing the entire how do you describe it? When you go from D5 to D1, 3 stars, then back to D5, then to D3, then to D4, then to D2, then back to D5, then back to D. So I haven't quite crested the mountain, as they say, but trying. I've been playing obviously a lot of Paladin, but recently I've started playing a little bit more Highlander Shaman again, and today I'm playing what I've labeled Pocket Priest, because we'll talk about that later, but that is a weird, fun deck. Donkey has actually championed it for a little while. He kind of kicked my butt with it in THL a couple weeks ago, but it's fun. But Doc, what have you been doing outside of Hearthstone?
I've been playing a lot of Commander. Cortland's brother came over Saturday and we played a couple games, and then Saturday night I played more Commander with Matt at Arms and a couple people over from Squelch. That was a lot of fun. I lost the first game while being the big enemy at the table, because people don't like taking 6 damage at the start of their turn every turn. But that's something I did to them. And then second game, I just ramped perfect with my dinosaur deck. On turn 3, I had 6 mana, and it was kind of over from there. Watched Worlds today. Worlds was fantastic. Turn it into something I could do with Cortland. So we did a puzzle the entire time we were watching Worlds. We didn't finish the puzzle, but we did a lot of it. It was a 1,000-piece puzzle, and we did a pretty good chunk. And it's kind of hard too, because it's like books on a bookcase, and so there's a lot of just like white puzzle pieces we have to match together with like next to no detail to figure it out other than just the shapes. I went to her other brother's choir concert for the holidays. That was fantastic. His choir group was amazing and was the most animated out of everybody there. And then just finalizing trip for back home, visiting my niece and seeing family. And then just dealing with this time of year, because this time of year is rough for me. Because for listeners that may not know, as date of recording, in 3 days, it'll be the 3-year anniversary of my dad's death. So it's just December's just kind of a rough time. So I'm just dealing with that. But all in all, like I'm okay. It's just holidays without your folks kind of sucks when you're used to having holidays with your folks. Yeah, Jay, what have you been doing outside Hearthstone?
Outside Hearthstone is, like you said, with Worlds, I spent all weekend. Worlds is my World Series, is my Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm heavily into Hearthstone esports. So that's where I, planted my butt in the seat, and I said to everybody in the house, I'm not here for the times that this is on. So doing that and watching that and having a blast, watching the competitors play. And then, like you said, the life stuff, the holidays are coming up. So we have to prepare, plan. There's holiday parties going on. So plus my daughter is working on college applications right now. So we have all of that. So December's busy, and it's even more busy with all of the fun stuff that Worlds showed us today.
Heck yeah. Tito, what have you been doing outside Hearthstone?
Not a ton. So last night though, I was sitting there petting my dog, trying to, keep her calm, and then I hear the pipes start groaning. I was like, oh, that can't be good. Turns out one of my cats hit a release knob on my tankless hot water heater and started letting water get into the basement. So dealing that today was a bit of the fun. Outside of that, I'm getting fiber installed on Tuesday, finally. So they finally put it in my neighborhood. I called up, and even if I went up to 2 gig, it's still cheaper than Comcast, even after the specials run out. So I'm very excited about that. Had a little panic moment when I said, I used my Comcast email for a lot of things, but apparently you can still keep it even if you get off Comcast. But that was a little troublesome. Yep. I think I'll be moving a lot of things off of there anyway as a precautionary measure anyway, but very excited to be getting fiber. The other thought I had, Doc, you were talking about you did a puzzle today. If you would have started that puzzle yesterday during the final match, the Druid versus Druid mirror, you would have been done with it long before the match ended.
Absolutely.
Well, so one thing that's getting confusing right off the bat is, for those that don't know, my name is not really Tito Santana. I am not a famous wrestler from the 80s, but my name is actually Jason, or as most people call me, Jay. We now have our guest on from This Week in Hearthstone, who is also called Jay. So every time Doc has said Jay, I've almost talked. And then I realized, no, he's not talking to me because Doc doesn't know my name is Jay. Weird thing is, too, my name is Jason. I work in telecom. I work in programming. And JSON format is something that we use all the time, and it's just kind of it's like XML, but a little different. And people always say JSON during my calls, and even though I know what it is and I use it all the time, it's just always so awkward. And someone says Jason, and I'm like, what? Because if my mind's drifting or I'm doing something else or multitasking, it just pulls me right out of it. And one time, somebody even thought it was funny to submit my name as Jason, so my email address at a previous company was actually JSON. So just a little awkwardness, but hey, we have a new guest here, Doc. He's never been on the show before. Why don't we get to know him a little bit?
Yeah. Your username, Jason, This Week in Hearthstone, is pretty unique. It has name of the game in the name. It's also just how you've branded your content, which I think is a fantastic idea. Has having your name be the way it is ever been problematic, or has it just been smooth sailing?
As of so far, it's been smooth sailing. One of the things that I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to build like something that was just not one individual person. So like a brand. So when I started thinking about this, I was like, oh, hi, I'm Jay from This Week in Hearthstone. That's what I was thinking. Now that I'm interacting more with other creators and other individuals and telling people about what I'm doing, I do notice that there's a little bit of, okay, so your name is This Week in Hearthstone, but it is a little confusing. I did have a plan when I started.
Okay. So if your name wasn't This Week in Hearthstone, as far as like the internet space goes, what else? Do you have an idea of what your name would be, or is that just not even a thought?
It as of right now, it's not a thought. I've only been doing this for a year now. So I'm not really, I don't really think there is a need for it. I did have usernames beforehand. I moved everything over because if I was going to commit to this brand, I used to do small press comics years and years ago. And my username was based on the character from that comic, and I switched it all over. So if I had to, I don't think I would do anything besides just solidify that I'm doing Hearthstone, because I couldn't see myself doing anything other than Hearthstone online. Yeah, I don't see it changing anytime soon, but I have noticed that, it has been getting a little okay, that's confusing a little bit. And if it was this week in Hearthstone and I had to spell it all out, that was a complaint that some people were getting. So that's why I truncated it on some of my social medias this week in HS, because it's I got to type out, all those characters in order to see who you are. So,
Doc, real quick, because I forgot to add this to the show notes. You are now a part of Amber Flight Gaming. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Those group of people that I've been, I was talking to Dawn. Dawn was one of my first people that I was able to interview on my channel. And I asked her for a lot of advice because she's done everything. She was just casting the Masters Tour this weekend. She's amazing. And I guess she liked what I was doing or saw potential, and she's like, do you want to join the group? And this group is dedicated. They really know their games. It's not just Hearthstone, Pokemon, which I never got into. My daughter was into Pokemon a little tiny bit, but I'm old and I was, past college when Pokemon came out. Never got into any of these other games, but they're just experts. And I'm watching them play, and they're, listen, if they're not casting, if they're not doing the content creation, if they're not, creating videos or streaming, they're actually in Discords playing the games together. And that's what I love about it. It's a good community, good group of individuals, and I'm excited to see what everybody in the team is going to do in 2024.
We're excited. We love Amber Flight Gaming over here. Obviously, Dawn is on the show at least every other month, if not monthly, which we love to have her. And we've had Ron Mexico on here, even if I've mispronounced his name once or twice, and other folks. So yeah, it's good to see you part of that group, and they just keep getting bigger and better. Sorry, Doc, didn't mean to interrupt. I just realized that I forgot to put that in the questions.
You're good, my man. Jay, you're a content creator. So for those who may not be familiar with you or see you on Twitter, what kind of Hearthstone content do you make?
So I'm breaking it out right now into two types of content. And first of all, it's all about Hearthstone, obviously with the name there. But, when I started playing Hearthstone, it wasn't really as... I wouldn't say the word open, but it wasn't really easy to pick up and go and know what was going on, know what was happening. There was not a place to see the comings and goings and everything that's happening with the game. The website wasn't updated all the time. There was just not a lot of ways to find out what you wanted to find out if you really loved this game and really wanted to know what was going on. And that's kind of what I put together. I put a weekly series together where I would talk about everything that happened during this week, hence the name This Week in Hearthstone. And then one of the other things I started doing, because I was talking to individuals that, might not know that these happenings were happening. They might be newer players. So I started putting together weekly series about how to put together budget decks, or what's the best budget decks that you can play as you're trying to climb the standard ladder from, let's say, bronze to gold, less than 5,000 dust. I go through, all the different places online like HS Replay, Donkey.top, and I try to find decks that are not going to cost them a lot of dust to be able to play and be competitive and viable, and talk about hey, what's the best decks you could be crafting, or the best cards you should be teching out, and it's going really well. And that's where a lot of my content is starting to slide into, like the budget aspect, if you're getting into the game for the first time, what you should be doing. And that's where I see it, tending to move along as I'm going through 2024, is trying to help those that are brand new to the game, because the main goal is if I can get one individual, looking at the videos that I'm doing and they're saying, hey, I didn't know that, this is great, now I'll be able to play better because of it, or get more interested in the game and not get frustrated, that's a win in my book.
Nice. Well, I want to say thank you for making content in the space that you do, because I feel like that specific kind of content isn't necessarily readily available or has enough in the Hearthstone space. So making that kind of stuff definitely helps out the newer players, and thank you for looking out for them. So do you have any like upcoming goals or projects in your Hearthstone content creation roadmap?
Yes and no. So, and it kind of comes up to the name. We talked about This Week in Hearthstone is more of a brand, and one of the things that I'm working on is trying to get more interviews out with other creators, or those that have been playing the game competitively, what have you, to start going over mindset of, hey, is these the right tech choices you should do when you're just starting out in the game? Does the tech choices what you do in late game, and just a lot of strategy for that newer player who doesn't know. Like, they don't know what a control deck is. They don't know what an aggro deck would mean, and trying to break that out into simplistic pieces to where they could just pick up and go and reference what they need to when they need it. And then as well as the weekly is kind of the weekly updates that I'm doing, it's kind of adapting a little bit to where I am now giving more of my opinion out about certain things that are happening. I don't know if that's going to, turn into, hey, I'm just giving my opinion like other content creators are giving, during the week or what have you. But one of the things I want to do is I really want to start like playing the game more. I spend a lot of time creating the content, getting all the pieces together, looking for decks, scouring for news so I can put together that weekly update, and I'm not spending as much time playing. And one of the things I want to work on for 2024 is, I'm going to practice what I preach. If I'm talking about these budget decks below, 5,000 dust, I want to play them and show them how to play these decks. And that's what it's going to grow into, at least for the first part of 2024.
Very cool. So you mentioned earlier that you have been playing Standard and that you've been learning BGs. Do you play any other formats in Hearthstone, or are you primarily Standard and you just started dabbling in BGs? So do you play like Arena or Duels or Mercenaries?
Well, I mean, I've been playing Battlegrounds since it first came out. I just wasn't any good at it. Like, I'll get to about 6K in ratings, and then they'll switch up the meta, and then I just go to dumpster again. I don't know how to play. So it takes me a little bit because I'm not playing anything more than like 1 or 2 games a day, if possible, on Battlegrounds. Duels is something that I played when it first came out. I stopped playing, and I really want to get back into Duels. I love the mode. I just, like if there wasn't enough time in the day, I wanted to work on Standard or Battlegrounds or what have you. But Duels is something I really like. Wild. Someone was just asking me in my channel's comments, like, hey, what about some Wild type of statistics? I wanted to get into Twist. I thought that was awesome. I just don't know where Twist is going to be in 3-6 months. I don't want to commit, I don't want to commit to that yet. I would rather spend my time on Duels or Standard or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you play Standard, do you have a favorite class? And if so, why?
I used to have a favorite class. It was Warlock. And the reason that was my favorite, because that's what I was playing with World of Warcraft. My first character in World of Warcraft was a Warlock, and that was like when the game first came out, where they were squishy as everything, and a squirrel running around could kill a Warlock when World of Warcraft first came out. So it was Warlock, and then it just changes, it adapts, because I think I like. First of all, one of the things that drew me to Hearthstone is the art. So if I like the art, I want to play with the card that the art is on. So it changes a little bit. Right now, it's between Death Knight and Paladin, and I switch based on what the cool deck or the cool tech is each and every month or each and every season with the new expansions that come out.
So you like Arthas? Okay. It's either one side of Arthas or the other.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. So do you have a favorite class? Or wait, sorry, I just asked you that. I forgot to scroll down. We'll fix it in post, I'm sure. What's your favorite deck of all time?
Favorite deck was Q-Block. I think that was so much fun.
A very good one.
It was so much frustrating for the opponents. And I'm not trying to be, a hater or cause tilt from my opponent, but it was just fun to just see them like, okay, I've got nothing here at turn 8, turn 9, when they knew what was coming and then just concede.
Yep. Getting free copies of some rush minion or charge minions.
Yep. Discard Warlock was also my second favorite.
Awesome. So what is something people might find surprising about you? Now, this doesn't have to be like some big surprise reveal or anything, but just like a fun little Jay from This Week in Hearthstone fact that people might not know.
Well, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know a lot of things about me. I've not been online for a while. No, the one thing, and I mentioned it briefly, is, I used to do small press comics a long time ago. It lasted a couple of years. It was fun. That's where I started getting into, a little bit of content creation, because I was doing weekly comics that I was publishing online and starting, that way. And maybe I was in the military. I don't tell a lot of people that I was in the military just because it doesn't come up like, hey, were you in the military? Were you in the military? Shaking hands. No, it didn't happen.
All right, so I'm a little disappointed Doc skipped one of the most important journalistic questions we had here. Is how comfortable are you with the fact that you stole my bit?
Okay. See, I saw this coming. All right, so when I did the search for This Week in Hearthstone, I was like, all right, let me go ahead and see if anybody's doing this. I saw one podcast from like 2014, 2015, and I was like, okay, I'm safe. I didn't want to bite on anyone's bit. Within 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I see this message from Tito saying, hey, dude, what are you doing? And I look right on, and I swear I searched everywhere. But as we've gone through the motions, and as it's been, because this is like 9 or 10 months since this happened, don't you really think that this would have just stifled your creativity on the podcast?
No.
So I'm just helping you.
No.
I'm just helping you.
No. So to get a little outside of the inside baseball here is I had started up when I started my content creation journey, when I started up the podcast with Doc, and around then I was doing some YouTube stuff, and I still have plans for things, but life takes its turns. I had started a little segment called This Week in Hearthstone, and it was a little like 2-minute thing that nobody was doing, and I had done a search and nobody was doing it and all that. And then all of a sudden I see this guy pop up, and he did it way better than I did. But I was like, hey, what are you doing? This is and kidding around. I didn't mind. And I definitely can see the point to him, because he definitely has taken a hold of it. And one thing that he didn't mention in his content here is that he does do things about decks and news, but he does it with humor. And he is one of the funnier people out there in the Hearthstone space. And so even if he wanted to steal that humor from me to get his career, he wanted to rise. What is this called? I don't even know the right terminology for this, but you know what, you wanted to build your empire on my ashes, maybe, but that's fine.
Sorry, Tito.
Go ahead, Doc.
I do want to say thank you, Jay, because you helped with adding content to the Blizzlet 300 fan special. And I'm always looking to get more people involved with submitting stuff for that, just because Blizzlet's one of the longest standing Hearthstone podcasts now. Next to that are currently running asterisk, next to Coin Conceit. So they're kind of a big deal, and I don't feel like they get as much appreciation and love that they deserve from the greater Hearthstone community. But the people that have found and have discovered Blizzlet, I feel like treat them very well. So I just wanted to say thank you for helping me make that moment special for them.
You sound biased because Daniel's your best friend.
It was fun to do. So when I started this, and I just now hit November 21st was my first video, and it was just a voiceover with AI or what have you, and I didn't start showing my face until mid-January. I never thought I would be doing this. Yes, I've been on camera for work, and I've done videos or what have you. I never thought I would be doing this. I was very stifled. If you look at my first video, you're like, oh my God, this guy looks uncomfortable. And I did. I felt uncomfortable. I just did. I think I've got 240 videos or something like that.
Awesome.
I'm on my 240th that I'm working on. And I went in the other day to film something for work. And the amount of change from something that I did, a couple of months back, I have this channel to thank, the content creation, getting me out of my shell or what have you, because I'm fine with talking. I'm okay with that. But being as animated and being able to be on camera, knowing that camera's there and I'm talking to I love doing this. So anytime anyone wants, for me to work on something like that, I love doing those interactive things. And look at how much Blizzlet has given us for how many years. It would be silly for me not to do something, and then also to steal Tito's thunder, I'm going to go ahead and announce that I'm creating a podcast. I'm going to call it the Peanut Butter and Jelly Podcast. It's not the same. It's kind of the same, but it's slightly, and what we'll do is every time we hear what's going on Bread and Butter, I will just, I'll just talk about that. Just kidding.
Very good.
Nice, very nice. And your idea, I understand that you like Blizzard and you saw where they were going, and you thought it was a rabbit hole worth exploring to make content to help out the show. So we appreciate that.
Yes.
All right. Well, Doc, I think it's time for a little esports news. What do you think?
Yeah. If there's not a better time than now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry, this is a new segment, y'all. Wasn't sure who was leading what. So CJ Kaka versus Pocket Train in the finals. For anyone who's listening to this, if you haven't been living under a rock, because at this point this will be a couple days old worth of news, Pocket Train won. And it was a very quick 3-0 finals. It was definitely the antithesis of last year's finals, where we ended with the Priest Mirror. It was awesome. It was very fun to see. It was just incredible. I was kind of pulling for CJ Kaka after yesterday through losing out early in the group stage and then having to win through to get back to semifinals and then to the finals. But he went on a 7-game win streak to get to the finals. And that's insane. So that's winning out his series to get in, and then that's 3-0ing both other matches to get to the semis. He performed very well. And then
he ran into a train.
Yeah. And what happens when most people run into a train, it doesn't end well. But I mean, he still got second place. That's still a very commendable finish. But the Blizzard esports guy told us that tweeted that he's working on an announcement and he's just waiting on some details. What
in regards to esports for next year?
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. So the one thing that everybody's been talking about for weeks now, was, hey, what's going to happen? Are we going to see any announcement for 2024? And, are we going to see Hearthstone esports at all? And for us to see something, because 2023 didn't get announced until January of 2023. We had no idea what was happening. And for the fact that we were able to see something like that before the end of the year, the day of the finals, it's cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Now, there's no real indication on if we are getting positive news or negative news or anything, but we got the announcement and we're hopeful.
Let's speculate on that, though. Okay, so if it's going to be bad news, do you think they're going to talk about it on the biggest, the end of the biggest event of the year that could potentially be the end? I think we would have heard radio silence if there wasn't going to be anything. I don't think there would be anything like that even talked about. Even, you're looking at that tweet from the public relations person. Even before that, the HSE Sports Twitter said something like, to where it was not an end. This is not it. We don't know what it's going to be. I mean, it could be, a ramped down production, even lower in experience than next year. I mean, than this year. But there's opportunities there. I think a lot of the people that are reading that and reading between the lines are saying, okay, we didn't even know if this was happening for 2024, and after seeing those, they're like, yes, something's happening, which is better than nothing.
Exactly.
Happening.
And
so Meaty, who got sixth place in this tournament, tweeted out that he is retiring from Hearthstone esports or competitive esports and still streaming. And then we had this announcement to which he said, maybe I'm not retiring.
Yeah, exactly. And that's listen, everybody was saying that this didn't think like it was happening. You even saw it as you were watching the finals, like, okay, well, this is the end. This is the last, Hearthstone sponsored esports that was going to happen in the chat while it was going on. And no one could disagree with that statement being a possibility up until those tweets that came out just a couple of hours ago.
Yeah. And as far as like the end result of this of the announced announcement, I'm hoping for at least the same. I'm going to be happy if it's at least the same. Reality, I don't know. I don't think they're going to increase it terribly much, if they're going to increase it at all. But the fact that they're still keeping it alive and hopefully at least the same level as it was this year, although it's not perfect, we all know this, but if there's at least Hearthstone esports, it's gonna have an audience. And the largest number I saw was just shy of 18,000 people watching on Twitch, and then there was like just over 1,000 people watching on YouTube. So there's nearly 20,000 people that are still watching Hearthstone esports. Granted, it's Worlds, but there's still a large audience of people that want to engage with Hearthstone esport content.
I think they have to change it, though, because the requirements to get in... I'm not saying they're going to expand it to have all kinds of opens and live events. Who knows, right? But the effort it takes and the mental stamina it takes to even try to get into this, and the pure number of hours of grinding is just not healthy for an individual. There has to be a better way, and they have to figure out a way to do that, because otherwise what's going to happen is they're going to get a crop of new people that are just going to burn out and die, then a crop of new people that are going to burn out and die. They have to find a better solution to that.
Yep.
And I hope that they consider that.
There was too much, like as an example, and I'm not saying the barrier for entry needs to be that anybody can do it by just spending an hour or two. But it was at the extreme, top position in the game or top 5 for it, just way too much to where, most of the people, except for the top 1% of 1%, had it even close to having a shot. And then you just started back over again on the next month. So I agree. I think it needs to be adjusted a little bit, but even if it's exactly where it was this year, I think people are going to be very excited as opposed to nothing.
I have to disagree with one point there, though. You said, it's like you said the comment of, hey, it doesn't mean that anybody can just, play and get in. And you said it with a couple hours, but and I think we talked about this last week on the show, the whole concept of, hey, anyone can do it that they used to have around Hearthstone esports. All you have to do is qualify, get in there, get your foot in the door. You can do it. That kind of hope and dream. And that just kind of, you start playing really well and you start thinking, hey, maybe I can do a tournament. Maybe I can get in there. That added so much more to the game, I think. And that added so much more to the scene that you could, the storylines that you would get and stuff like that. I think that was so important to Hearthstone esports and just Hearthstone in general. I hope they find a way to bring that concept back where it's you sitting in your chair right now, you try a little bit, you might be able to make it. And then all you have to do is win.
So that is great, and I would love for that to be back. That's just so much more of a budget that they have to put aside for esports to be able to facilitate those other tournaments and being able to have pricing. But that was also when Fireside Gatherings existed. So the people that ran Fireside Gatherings also ran the Tavern Hero qualifiers, and we no longer have Fireside Gatherings. So they're to get it back in that space would require a lot more money allocated to this area. And I don't think that's going to happen.
I got 3 points on that. 1, Blizzard has continually made record profits. 2, Microsoft just bought them out and they might want to expand onto these things. We'll talk about Microsoft later. And 3, effing Bobby K is gone in 14 days. And that's $78 billion right there that he's going to free up. So I know you're right. Yes. I know they're not going to, but they have the money. They just have to decide to do it.
Yeah.
So one of the weekly videos that I just did, Friday's video, was all about the esports scene. And I don't think that I have the solution. I do not have, the amount of experience as those individuals running those types of events have. So I'm just going to say sponsorships. I would be fine if I could get one more opportunity to watch Hearthstone esports. If they sat there and announced, welcome to the 2024 World Championship, sponsored by Carl's Jr. and Mountain Dew. Sign me up. What's the problem with that? Any other type of event right now has sponsorships. You look at the big game, you look at, the World Series. They now, on some of the teams, they have logos on there. Why not? Or let us, go ahead. Every month there's a competitors pack where you sit there and you buy something and that counts towards the prize pool for 2024 Masters Tour Champion. Sign me up. I'm ready to buy. My wallet is right here.
They had done stuff like that in the past. They did have Buffalo Wild Wings hosting things and all that. But I don't think that in order to get advertisements, you have to show the viewership and the potential return on investment. And I don't know if it's there yet. And it's kind of like cart, horse. How do you get there? Chicken, egg, whatever you want to do. And I don't think they can show that. Now, they did have the packs where it's, hey, buy packs and this will contribute to the prize pool. And I forget what it was for, if it was for Masters Tour or if it was for, I forget exactly what it was for, but they had those, but they capped them. There was a certain number. And once you hit it, it no longer contributed, which was stupid because everybody jumped on that right away. And we hit those, hey, buy 5 packs, buy this. It was buy this bundle and it'll fund the prize pool. And do that. If that's the only way we're going to get esports, do that. And I guarantee you that there will still be people contributing to that and it'll be a no-brainer.
Yep. I think they should do something like that again. Fine. Yeah. Cap its contribution towards the prize pool, but don't shake your head at me. I'm not done with this point. You could cap it towards the prize pool and whatever excess, put that directly into the esport budget. So you can cap the prize pool at whatever for that contribution, but then players and people that want to support Hearthstone esports just now have a direct avenue to help fund it.
I don't disagree with that. I like that. If you're upfront going over it, why not?
I think they just need to outsource it to a third party and give it complete control and autonomy and say, okay, you're running Hearthstone esports. Here are some basic guidelines. We need you to contribute. We need to advertise the most recent expansion, blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, you do it. And then it's no longer a sunk cost for them. And the risk all goes on to the third party that's willing to do it. And then the reward also can go on them too. So, and plus it's like, it could be potentially just great advertising, because who doesn't want to play more Hearthstone after watching something like this? Except for Doc, who is apparently burned out of Hearthstone.
Yep.
But if it's not clear, we all love Hearthstone esports. I miss Firebat. Come back, please. And he's my world champion. So, and one last thing is Pocket Train was dominant, and we have not seen a dominant performance like that since, I would say, Lion. And Lion was just awesome. And I wish we had enough people that stayed in the game so we could have some sort of tournament of champions. Or what I would have loved to see if Hearthstone esports was still, say, 2018, 2019 level, where, you know, we had like things in Vegas and everything, COVID aside, like, say that. I would love to see that. You know how if golfers win in the Masters, they're then automatically invited for the rest of these things? I would love to see that if you've won a Masters tour or any stop, like even if you've won the World Championship, or if you just won a Masters tour, you automatically get an invite into some of these events. So you don't even have to qualify. It's just for the next 5 years, you get an invite. So maybe then we see like the return of like Firebat or Dog or something like that, of just people that, you know, they're not going to do the grind, but hey, you know, I can show up and maybe have a chance. And that would be, so I think that would be entertaining. And I think that would have the storylines, because that's what makes these things interesting, are the storylines. Hearthstone is a game. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to watch the plays. But that's the same thing with any sport. What makes the competitions interesting is knowing the stories behind the players and the competitors and the rivalries. And there's a reason why Boston Yankees was such a big rivalry for so many years, is because of the storylines, the hatred between the two groups, and it just makes it more interesting. So I want to see some of that come back. And having kind of like you win, you get invited to some things without even qualifying. That's a lot of other kind of individual sports do. Chess does that too. So I don't know. I think it'd be nice if they did that. But we've talked about esports quite a bit and possibly the future of esports. But our main topic today is the future of Hearthstone. So this is kind of a great time to talk about it, because the future of esports kind of up in the air. Future of Hearthstone, I wouldn't say it's up in the air, but, you know, if you've listened to Reddit for the last 9 years or so of the 10 years of this game, it's a dead game. It's dying. They'll say that for the next 10 years, it's a dead game, it's dying. But outside of the folks on Reddit and Twitter that seem to think that because they don't like the current meta or whatever it is, a dying game, what are our thoughts on Hearthstone? We're coming up on 10 years. So I'm assuming they're going to do something interesting for that. What are you guys' thoughts on 10 years, just in general, 10 years of Hearthstone? Okay.
I am more excited than I've ever been for Hearthstone. And, you know, you go through those motions, like you had said. I mean, even today on the championship, everybody was saying, "Oh, this is a dead game. This is a dead game." Listen, they're doing so many cool things that I would have loved to have seen, and would have made it so much easier for me to start playing at a faster pace or a more informed pace. With those items that they've been adding, that improves the new player experience. That, you know, the beginning of this year, the beginning of 2023, I thought, okay, yeah, this is going. But yes, in the back of my head, it's a 10-year-old game, or it's going to be a 10-year-old game. Now, there's so many new things to invite new players to the game that the future just looks brighter than it ever has.
That'll be yourself, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree. Like they just implemented ketchup packs. Like I think that is one of the most significant changes and additions to the game that they've done. Like, and I've seen people talk on Twitter like, "Oh, hey, I got my partner into Hearthstone and it cost like not even $100 in ketchup packs, and they went from having like a 25% collection to having an 87% collection." Like that big old jump in like card collection is huge. And I mean, that's just one thing too. Like Battlegrounds is always changing and innovating and getting better. Standard's getting better. They're doing like UI changes with the shop, which I think that's fantastic. The developers love this game so much, and I don't think Hearthstone's going anywhere. I think Hearthstone is still in a fantastic spot to continue to grow and to continue to be a popular game and a big money making game for Blizzard for the seconds it has left of being a Blizzard game. But yeah, no, Hearthstone's just in a great spot. It's been a crazy 10 years. I've been playing for 8 of them, and it's crazy that I've been playing a single version of a game for 8 years. Granted, yeah, there's updates and patches and whatever, but like Halo, one of my favorite games of all time. I haven't played Halo 4 in I couldn't tell you how long. Mass Effect, another fantastic series that I love. I don't play that nearly as much as I play Hearthstone, but there's just something special about Hearthstone. And yeah, I can't wait for the next 10 years of Hearthstone. How about yourself, Tito?
Magic the Gathering just turned 30 this year. So if that is an indication of a game that people like can last and invent new things and continue to invent new things, and granted, Magic does come up with some convoluted things, and it can get really complex if you don't know what you're doing. But then they figured out a way to narrow it down to a couple years. But like I see some like memes on Magic the Gathering online, and they mentioned all kinds of mechanics that I have no idea what they're doing, and people find it funny. I'm like, I have no idea. And I played Magic when it first came out, but I mean, I think that's an indication of like you talked about Mass Effect and you talked about these other games. It's a different animal, right? Like a card game that continually gets new cards and new mechanics and new items. Now, I think that you get the base of that, and then as you add on to it, I think it just keeps things interesting, and I think that they're doing a great job with that. Like almost every set they've added in the last few years has been fantastic. Maybe we've had some metas that haven't been great or have run through some ups and downs, but it feels like every time before they hit the mini set, the meta is always in a great spot. The game is fun. It's as balanced as it can be. Almost every class has viable decks that you can play, which is not usual, and that's a change from the way Hearthstone used to be. And I'm not saying like there's always going to be a class. It's not like right now, Demon Hunter is kind of down, but I saw a lot of Demon Hunter in Worlds this weekend, so it can't be that bad.
I mean, it was at Worlds, but it had like a 43% win rate.
Sure, but they brought it. Like,
yeah,
I think the best players in the Worlds would have brought it.
Didn't Pocket Train win like his first or second game of the finals in like turn 6?
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did.
Okay.
So
yeah, don't count.
Yeah, I mean the meta.
The thing that you were just mentioning now is important. You know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when I started, there was 2 decks that you could play, or standout decks that you could play from time to time. Going through the data right now, every single class has something that you can play. The win rates might not be 75%, but the win rates are enough to where it's not, I'm getting tanked every game I play. And that is better than it's ever been. And it's just been like, it's just getting more and more refined every year as we see this being played. I can go and play any one of those decks right now and any one of those classes, right now, and have something to do and be competitive.
Absolutely. And we've had 2 new classes in the last few years, which I think has definitely helped. Who knows? Now they've been sticking with, like, we have Drakkar. I forgot how to say it.
Drakthir.
The new dragon people. Drakthir. I don't think they're coming
Monk.
next. I think that they have evokers, so maybe they're doing it. But I think we have Monk, and I think we're going to get Monk for the. You heard it here first. Monk for the 10th year anniversary.
That would be insane.
That would be nutty. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
it would.
Right?
100%.
And then we have an even 12 classes, which, can be nice. Have a little symmetry there. Have all the classes we've been expecting.
There you go.
I'm game. I'm happy for it. I think you can do a lot of things. I think you're going to steal a little bit from Rogue. I think you're going to have a lot of combo things. I think they're going to steal the combo word from Rogue because, Kung Fu and all that. But I think that's coming. And they've just done such a great job over there with such a small team. From what we know about, that they're always pulling people off the Hearthstone team to go to different projects, because you got to move up somewhere. The team's small enough where there's not a whole lot of, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of upward mobility. So people get pulled off to unannounced projects or whatever. And I'm happy for everybody that's getting advanced, go get your bag, go advance through the system. But that's one thing that does worry about me. Is that it seems like the team is growing Hearthstone in a way that's great, and they're innovative, and we're seeing just a lot of great things. But it feels like this team is small enough where just two of the right people leaving at the right time could derail things. And this is no knowledge. This is outside looking in. They could be way more robust than that, and we don't know. But it just feels like if like 3 or 4 people decide they're moving on all at the same time, who knows what happens with Hearthstone. That worries me a little bit. So I'm hoping with Microsoft coming in, they fortify the group and really start helping that grow big. So one thing that we all know is, as much as we love Hearthstone and as much as they've added, the client is a little long in the tooth. It's a 10-year-old game. Even games like Warcraft, which is 20 years old or so right now, right? They've had multiple updates to their engines. They've changed things. They've rebuilt how things work. Almost every expansion, they've rebuilt something on how the old technology works. Hearthstone does that a little bit, but it's also, as we understand, some code that's being held by bullets, band-aids, and duct tape, right? So we just got a recent patch where we got a new shop. We talked a little bit about that last week, and the new shop looks great. Do we think that we're going to get a new client in the next few years?
I would love it. I don't know if they have the resources to set aside to revamp an entire client. But who knows? Maybe they've been working on it for a long time and it's part of the 10-year anniversary with like maybe a Hearthstone 2.0 revamp or something. I don't know. But I think that would be a great idea if that were to come to fruition. Yeah.
How about yourself, Jay?
Do I think that's going to happen? No. Me personally, I do not think that's going to happen. And mind you, I don't know anything from nothing on this subject. But if they told me that they were going to switch up and have a Hearthstone 2.0 and it was going to be the same but a different engine and nothing would carry over, but they'll give everybody who had stuff credits, I would be happy, because that means that Hearthstone has a bigger future than before. So I just want to see Hearthstone. I just want to make sure that there's not a day where I go through and be like, what am I going to play today? And that is not Hearthstone.
I don't think that they reset everything. I think you keep your collection. I think you keep everything. It's just, it's that old client that you were using, gone. New client, same game, just we've built it and it's better and it's more modular. It's more ready for advancement. And maybe that's why it seems like there's always kind of a light crew, because a lot of people are working on 2.0. I could be wrong again, but I hope that's where it's going, because I'd love to see them just take this game and put in a new client. Because when they built it, they didn't expect any, like, they've just kept, I mean, I'm a developer. I've worked with old code. I look at code I wrote 6 months ago and I'm like, who wrote that? you're always looking to fix and change things. And when you're building on something that's been around for 10 years, and then it's like, you can't touch that, because if you touch that, everything breaks. It's just kind of how these things work. So starting from scratch and making things, knowing what the game looks like now versus what it did 10 years ago, you can build it in a way, hopefully, that handles things better and allows you for expansion into the future with a forward-looking mindset. So I kind of hope that's what's happening. And I hope that new shop is kind of an indication of something that maybe they swapped out of the work going to 2.0 and put it there. But again, we know nothing. We're all speculating. One thing I do know is we all think that Hearthstone's profitable, right? They never bring it up in the report, right? The earnings report, they don't really ever talk about Hearthstone. Maybe once in a great while it's mentioned with a couple other things, but we have no idea if, when, how Hearthstone is profitable or not. So what do we think? Do we think Hearthstone's profitable? I think they have to be, because if they weren't, they would have been sunset like Heroes of the Storm, or like when Titan was a thing before they turned it into Overwatch. They used to be a company that would just invest a lot into a game until it was perfect and then put it out. They're not that anymore. It doesn't seem that way. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they're making a lot of money? You think they're making a little money? You think they're breaking even? What do you guys think without real knowledge? Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, so I definitely think Hearthstone's profitable, because you think about all the people that play it. And if everyone who ever plays Hearthstone only buys like an expansion, the mini set, and Battlegrounds every expansion, and that's bare bones, that's still just a significant amount of money if everyone in the player base did that. Granted, not everybody does, but not everybody spends money on just that in the game too. There's a significant amount of whales and krakens that exist within the Hearthstone community that just buy every bundle that exists ever, every expansion, both pre-order bundles, everything. Yeah, I think Hearthstone's profitable. It's a shame that they don't bring it up, because I feel like that could be like a badge of honor for the developers or whatever. Be like, yeah, like this expansion we worked so hard on dropped in Q2, and in Q2 our earnings increased 5% or whatever, right? Like that would be correlation does not equal causation, but being able to be like, we did this, it happened here, we spiked this much in revenue in this time. Like, yeah, I long story short, yes, I very much think Hearthstone is profitable.
Jay?
In terms of like an earnings call, and to hear what's going on with the money side of things, I do believe it's profitable as well. And I believe that in earnings calls, you either hear insane profits because something went huge to the moon, if you will, or they're going to talk about something that's not doing too good and what the strategic options are to get it back on track. So the fact that Hearthstone is not mentioned, I have a feeling it's doing good. It's doing fine. It's consistent. It's calm. I don't think they would be putting in that new user experience. I don't think they would be putting in all these cosmetics, and I don't think they would be updating the shop if this was a game that's no longer, profitable to them. It just wouldn't make sense. Look what they did. They noticed very quickly that Mercenaries was not the greatest thing, and it wasn't very popular, and it wasn't being played. Now, whether that was a decision based on how many Mercenaries packs they were selling, or based on usage of the mode, or a little bit of both, they stopped it pretty quick. And the fact is, we've never had, hey guys, we're removing expansions because we're going to switch to a 2-a-year type of thing. They've even added more. Did we ever have a wild only set released in the past 5 years up until this year?
Nope.
I think it's very profitable.
I would say that was more of a twist only set. I know they promoted it as wild, but I think that was more just to push twist, and it doesn't seem like it went. Yeah, no,
so
I agree.
That's a specific, yeah.
Still,
point still holds.
And no, I agree with all that. Yeah, it's interesting to see. And hopefully that they're making money. And who knows how it's going to work now that they're kind of under the Microsoft umbrella. But one thing that we have seen is, while I'm actually surprised that we didn't get the shop fixed earlier, because I know you said all the things that they've been putting effort into. The first thing I would have expected them was to fix the shop, because the shop is where the money gets spent. So I was kind of surprised that the shop was as glitchy as it was for as long as it was. That would have been the first thing I would have expected them to fix. But as far as the investment into the things we're doing, one thing we have seen a decline in is the production around the expansions and in Hearthstone in general. We've seen some things, and there's been some good things, but we used to get a song every time. We used to get a lot of cinematics, and it feels like that has gone way down. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I've got. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Jay.
So I've seen that too. I've also seen, so if we're talking about finite resources, maybe that's why the collection was unable, the shop was unable to be done at a faster pace. So maybe they were able to say, hey, we don't need to do a song every single time, or the production value on the announcement videos isn't as grandiose as it was, 3-4 years ago, but look at all of these other improvements. I think they've absolutely had to make trade-offs, and I don't necessarily believe that's a bad thing. I mean, I don't think that anything has been absolutely terrible and oh my gosh, the production values declined. I know you're not saying that as it's a bad thing, but I'm a fan of what we've gotten in place of an additional song for Hearthstone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I echo your exact sentiments. That was basically the same point I was going to bring up. Like, I will gladly forego a song or 3 if that means those resources that they'd have to spend to hire people to make the song, to record, whatever, are allocated to other parts within the game to improve the game. Grant, are the songs great when they make them? Absolutely. Would I like there to be songs? Absolutely. But if I have to choose one over the other, I'd rather go without a song if that means the game continues to be great and improves.
Sure, but those things don't necessarily line up, right? Like, depending on a company, the just because they spend or don't spend money on, say, advertising budget, which is what those songs are, that doesn't mean that money gets allocated to work into something else. That's not how that works.
I understand that point, but like, we don't know what actually happens behind the scenes. Like, it could be that it does, or it could be that they have to make choices about, well, we can do X or Y, or we can do Z instead. And I think that's one of those cases
spend our time?
We have these couple of things that we can do, or we can just really buckle down and just improve our system, improve how things look, improve the feel of the game, versus, yes, these advertisements are great for the expansion, but how much do these advertisements help after the expansion's gone, whereas a shop revamp will help the game indefinitely? Or whatever,
Sure. I just from my experience working at some of these big companies, that's not how that works. It doesn't get shifted from A to B, or hey, we need more here, so let's cut that. It's entirely, every budget is separate and every budget is not there. But I mean, we don't know how it works there. But I'm going to say I miss those though. The Hearthstone, it's all part of an experience, right? Like, the Hearthstone experience has always been this like big, bombastic, grandiose, kind of goofy, most of the time, thing that we get, and I feel like that's missing. And granted, I agree. I prefer improvements to the client. I prefer better investment into the cards we're getting or whatever. But I still miss that. That was one of the things that I loved about Hearthstone, is the commitment to the bit there. Like Medivh as a disco guy and everything. I love that stuff. So I kind of hope they find a way to bring it back. One thing they have been investing in is the content creator program, and that is in a better spot than I think it's ever been, from what we understand. We're still waiting to hear back from our latest application. So if you're listening to this, we're waiting, even for rejection. Just like to know. But would they be investing in the content creator program like they have if they weren't planning on continuing this game for the foreseeable future? I don't think so. What do you guys think, Jay?
I agree. They're spending time, and to piggyback a little tiny bit of what you said is, everything that they do, whether there's a dollar sign to it or someone working on that, it all adds up. And for them to sit there, and yes, I'm not in the creator program. Also, I didn't even know that updating the application was something that you should be doing. So maybe I should do that. I don't even know if they have mine. Hello, everybody. This is Jay from This Week in Hearthstone. But anyway, they're spending a lot of time and effort working with the content creators to, from what I'm seeing, make the experience of Hearthstone better. And I don't think they would do that if the future wasn't bright.
Doc?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jay said it pretty eloquently. I don't think that they'd be giving so many people things that cost the company money to produce and ship and all that. I don't think they'd be doing that in the mass that they do towards the creator program if Hearthstone didn't have a bright future ahead of it. So,
investment in the content creator program is basically investment in your advertising budget, right? Because every content creator out there is an advertisement for your product. So, like, if you're not even the people that complain about Hearthstone or the ones that say, oh, this is a bad game, they're still making content about the game, and people are still playing the game around the game, and they're still bringing people in. Even if that's all they do is complain, they're still customers. So I like what they've done there. I hope we eventually get to see it. But I'm very happy that a lot of our counterparts like Blizzlet and Squelch and everybody else has gotten in, and it seems like it's just been a positive addition to our community. So I look forward to that. So we talked this a little bit. We've mentioned a couple times. What do we think Microsoft's influence on Hearthstone is going to be? Jay, go ahead.
I mean, the short answer is keeping the microscope off of them, in my opinion. Do I think this game will ever be on Xbox? No. I think it was funny for me to mention several times. I've done it for months now since we heard about it. I don't think that's going to happen. But, the opportunities that Microsoft will provide is much greater. There's another video game out there that, if you have the Xbox Game Pass, you have extra cards, extra parts of the collection that you have because of having Game Pass. So there's an opportunity there. It's an opportunity there's other methods of getting the advertisements out there. So maybe instead of 20,000 viewers of the championship, because of the extra reach that Microsoft has, we now have 40,000 next year. There's just more opportunities, and I think if I'm looking at a microscope, if I'm Mr. Microsoft, and I'm looking at that number sheet, and I'm looking at all those pieces, I'm not sitting there saying, okay, it's time for me to make massive changes or else with Hearthstone.
Doc?
Yeah, I feel like I can't remember his speech directly, but Phil Spencer came to BlizzCon and was excited about having Blizzard and Blizzard properties becoming part of the Microsoft family. And granted, it was a speech, but his speech was very positive, and he was excited to have them and excited to keep them doing what they're doing. So it didn't sound like that they were going to be like an overbearing presence. They just want to help facilitate the team that already knows what they need to do to make their game great, to continue to do the thing that they love. So, I mean, I think it would be cool if Game Pass equaled some kind of bonus in Hearthstone. In League of Legends, a game that I play fairly often, if you connect your Game Pass with your Riot account, you get access to every single champion in the game instead of having to pay $5, $10, $15 per champion, depending on the champions, to be able to play them. So I think there is definitely room for Hearthstone to benefit from having some kind of connectivity with the Game Pass. What that will exactly be, I have no clue. But I think Microsoft and Hearthstone is going to be a big win.
So one thing that we're not mentioning is that Microsoft, while they don't own OpenAI, they have an investment in them, and there's things going on between the companies there. So I think that there could be an algorithm created through AI that's going to help their matchmaking. So that way you always lose. No, sorry. No, it's exciting. I'm really hoping that, like, right now, I expect that now that Microsoft has accessibility to everything, I hope they're taking a long time in evaluating where things are, and then seeing where they can help and say, okay, this is what we noticed. This is where we think we can improve. What do you guys need? What do you guys want? And I'm hoping beyond hope that that's kind of what happens here. And Microsoft then says, okay, we've observed this for a year now. Here's what we think we should do, and let's keep making this game great. Is it a pipe dream? Probably, but that's what I'm hoping for. So, what do you want to see happen, say, in the next few years at Hearthstone? Jay?
I want what I have now. I want it to continue. I want to make sure that, there's opportunities for the new player. I want, I'd love for my grandchild, when I ever have a grandchild, to be sitting on my lap and playing this game. I want longevity. I want to be just as excited to open up that client as I was today, yesterday, last month, last year, and the first time I opened up the client. And I want more people to do that as well.
They'll have a little button you press saying, so you want to add your Hearthstone collection to your will. Here's how you do it.
Absolutely. We could do that. I could absolutely do that. I might actually get on the gravestone the Hearthstone logo. Why not? Like, I want it to be around for a very long time.
Yeah, so this one's very ambitious because they've axed it before. But if they do a total revamp overall of Hearthstone, and redo the client and everything, hopefully they're able to do it in a way where tournament mode can exist. Yes, we don't have firesides, but being able to essentially have firesides within the client, be able to set up a tournament with your Discord community instead of having to go through different third-party websites to make brackets or to randomize seeding or whatever. Just be like, yep, there's 8 of us, put us in a bracket, it shuffles, boom, ready to go. I know that's very ambitious. I would love that. But if that ever happens, this will be one happy doc.
I would take that a step further. I don't want to just see, hey, 8 of us have signed up, put us in a bracket. I mean, that'd be great. Back when online poker was super legal or not super regulated yet, I used to do these tournaments or into these things where it's like I'd play poker until that round was over, and then you were kind of asynchronously put into the next round. And so I would like to see that where, like, you can enter tournaments where you win a match, doesn't matter how long you take, you can come back later, and then you get matched up with like the next round of people that happen to be playing at that time. And then as you go, then eventually when you get to a certain level, you qualify for events that are at a certain day or a certain time, and you can sign for it. So, because I think getting people together, I mean, it's fine for like organized things, but if you just want to sit there and like, hey, I got time to kill, I can play for a couple hours, let's go ahead and do a tournament. You may not be able to finish that. You may not have the people that there may not be anything going on. I love the idea of just like a sit and go, like, hey, I'm going to play the first 2 rounds. I've won. I'm here. All right. I'll come back tomorrow when I have time, and now I'm in round 3 of whoever else is in round 3 at that time, and you go from there, and then qualify for something else. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I missed that with poker. That was a blast. So I'm hoping that's what they got. All right, final thoughts on the future of Hearthstone. Jay, you got any final thoughts on the future here before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Now that that I've been on my first podcast, and I thank you guys. This game is amazing, and I love that so many people love talking about the game, playing the game, interacting with others, looking and hoping and wishing for more better things for this. And it all comes down to, how much you get out of this game, how much you put into this game. So, yeah, it's kind of corny to say this, but have fun. be nice to everybody around you. Like, I haven't seen it in a while, and I think that there's, the reporting thing or what have you, but, people can be jerks online. There's no reason to be jerks. It's just a game. So, when you sit there and say to your opponent, good luck, have fun, it means something. I like the longevity of the game. I want to be around for another 20, 30, 40 years, and I would love for everybody that's playing a game to just have fun.
Doc?
Yeah. Hearthstone has been such a important part of my life since I have found it. It's led me to find a bunch of these Discord communities I'm in and see a bunch of people in. It's helped me. It's given me friendships that have helped me through very rough times in my life. Like, Hearthstone is more than just a game. It has this wonderful community that surrounds it in every corner. And I just want that to be something that continues for as long as it possibly can. Because if it's helped me in any way, it's definitely helped Joe, John, and Jane in other ways too. Like, the game's amazing. I want it to continue. The community is great. I want that to always be there. So yeah, congrats Hearthstone on our early 10 years, and hopefully we get 10 plus more.
And everything you guys say, I completely agree with. The communities are great. The game is great. And the dev team is great. I hope that the ones that we know, the front-facing ones, are passionate. They love the game they play. Like I said, we are in some Discords where some other devs are also in those Discords, and I know I see them playing the game, their name on Discord saying, hey, playing Hearthstone, well after their shifts are over. So they go home from their day job, and then they go home, and a lot of times they go play Hearthstone. If that doesn't tell you how good something is, that someone gets home and still does the same thing, I don't know what to tell you. It just means a lot. It's sometimes we're not. I don't think we're usually negative here. Sometimes we have some negative takes occasionally if we're not happy with things. But I think for overall we're positive light in the Hearthstone. We're not shills or anything, but we love Hearthstone. We'll say things are. I love this game. There's a reason why we do it. We're not doing a podcast about this game. We're not creating contests about this game because we're raking in the big bucks. There are no dollars here. We're
spending money.
Yeah, it costs more. It costs. Actually, you're not wrong. It costs a lot more money than we actually will ever see. But we love the game, and we just want to see it thrive. So here's hoping that we have this conversation again the next 10 years. And I wonder where Hearthstone's going to be as they move towards year 30. Doc, that was a lot of information. We talked a lot. Kind of full, but I think there's room for dessert.
Yeah, I agree. So one final interview question for you, Jay. What is your favorite dessert?
My favorite dessert. Wow. I think I'm going to say ice cream only because ice cream is broad. So one day it could be, hey, vanilla. The next that graham cracker ice cream. You could put ice cream, like everything is in ice cream, and ice cream is amazing. Did you even see that there was like ranch dressing ice cream? Not that I would ever try this, but I've even seen that there was. But yeah, ice cream. It's a safe answer. It goes for any mood.
If someone offers you frozen pudding ice cream, though, don't take it.
I don't even know what that was. That is.
So it sounds good, doesn't it? Frozen pudding ice cream.
Yeah.
It is something that old New Englanders used to like. And let me get this real quick, because I don't remember what was in it, but I remember we were like, "Oh, great, let's try it," and it was like the worst thing ever. Frozen pudding ice cream right here. It is vaguely similar to what is known as French vanilla. Frozen pudding ice cream has extra richness of added eggs. It is infused with rum and also raisins. So it's not quite what you're expecting. I don't know why they call it. If you like raisins, it's one thing, but I know that if I bite into a chocolate chip cookie and it has raisins in it, I want to punch somebody. So it's a weird flavor. Don't take it on what it sounds like.
I'd almost think that ranch dressing ice cream sounds a little bit better than that, but it's fine. It's fine. It's ice cream.
And if anybody from Squelchel's listening right now, I'd love to hear you guys all try that ranch ice cream and let us know what you think.
Yeah. So listeners, if you haven't, please leave us a review. Let us know what you think about the show. We'd prefer a 5-star review because it helps with visibility. Let us know what we're doing, good, bad, the ugly, because we just want to make our show the best that it can be for what we want it to be and the best that it can be for what our listeners want. And if you leave us a review, we'll read it out on the show. So Jay, if people want to find you on the internet, where can they do that?
If you go to YouTube and type in This Week in Hearthstone, you will now be able to see my videos, all of my videos, all over the place. I'm also on Twitter at twitter.com/thisweekinhs. And I had a blast, guys.
Yeah, thank you for being on.
Doc, where can people find you?
So primarily right now, you can find me on Twitter at Doc McClett. And how about yourself, Tito?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. I looked at my not Spotify replay, my Twitch replay, and I apparently have streamed like 340 days this year or something. So I'm on there a lot.
Nice.
Come hang out. We'd love to have you. We play lots of fun decks. Hey, This Week in Hearthstone, do you have any shout outs this week?
Just to Team 5, and listen, Team 5 is doing amazing. I love it when you said that the devs, they work all day on Hearthstone and then they come home and then they play. And then GG to Pocket Train and all the competitors this weekend. Mm-hmm. Thank you for an amazing year of Hearthstone esports, and I'm excited to see what you all are going to do next.
Doc?
First and foremost, Jay, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on the show with us. We really appreciate it. You were a blast to have on. I enjoyed getting to talk to you through more than just Twitter. And I have to shout out Matt at Arms because he won with his Oops All Doctors Doctor Who Commander deck. And it was just fun to get to see just a bunch of doctors doing doctor stuff. That was fun. How about yourself, Tito?
I don't really have anybody shout out this week outside of Jay and you. Or thank you for another full calendar year of podcasting. But if you do have any New Year's resolutions for your Hearthstone game, I'd love you to get them. We'll have an episode next week after Christmas. And if you have any resolutions that you want to share about what you want to focus on in Hearthstone or where you want to get to, we'd love to have them. We'll read them on the show. But anyway, guys, I think that's it. I think we're toast. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.